So Jake, as a big game aficionado, I've always wondered if I ever want to start my own studio, I got to make money. And in gaming these days, we all know that monetization is one of the single biggest issues that all game developers face. There's so many options. The F2P, the premium. So if I come to you, Jacob, right now, and I want to make a mobile game, what should I do?
You should first get a team that can actually program it, of course.
Of course.
But if we talk about genres, you should definitely to go into freemium and make a free game that people can purchase with in-app purchases throughout the way, because it will be impossible in today's market to market any premium game in any way.
Okay, I'll try to scream louder than the guy outside. So when you say freemium, what do you mean? Do you mean ad-supported paywall, microtransactions? Could you please elaborate on freemium?
So you give people a free game of download. They are supposed to be able to play the game through entirely for free all the way to the end, but you will be able to churn around 5% of the users into actually paying for stuff within the game. So basically create a fit for them that they like anything they want to buy within the game, create a need to beat their friends or to get ahead of their friends is useful.
Awesome. So basically what you're saying is that the premium model, whereby I have games that go from anywhere from $4.99 to like what Square is doing with $30 mobile games. I mean, is that model dead?
It is dead unless you do something completely indie. If you have a really good IP, it can still sell. The problem is that if you do a premium game right now, you cannot do any paid user acquisition for it, meaning that it's entirely up to your own PR team and Google and iOS to basically get your game out to the masses. If you do freemium, you can still do paid user acquisition, so you actually still have a way of pushing more downloads into the game and targeting users better.
Understood. So of the many varieties of free-to-play methods there are, which is your favorite? And why?
My favorite free-to-play is basically where you don't feel like there is a need to pay anything, but there is this added benefit that you can get to continue throughout the game. It's also very important that you don't just have one payment point, but that people can basically be able to continue spending also after their first purchase. They buy a step ahead, and they buy new tools to move ahead, but you need to also be able to spend a few $1,000s in the game, because there are users doing that as well.
Yeah, I've heard of these mystical, I think they're called whales or something. Yeah, so how important is it to hunt down these people that spend these thousands and tens of thousands of dollars on games?
So it would be maybe 0.5% of our users, but they are still paying for, I think, 90% of the entire revenue. So they are very important to find because they will pay for your user acquisition efforts for everything else.
Okay, so how do you find these people, and how do you make them spend another 10,000 on a game about clicking one thing 3 million times?
So technically today you basically find them by, for example, acquiring them on Facebook, paying Facebook money for their advertisement, getting them throughout the game, figuring out, of course, what users are spending in the game. Then you take their user IDs, you send them back to Facebook and say, I want a lot more users like this. And that's actually the best way today to have like an audience targeted, because most will like the same things on Facebook and have the same interest on that part.
So do you guys at Pocket Play, do you actively hunt down these whales?
100%.
Fantastic.
Whale hunters.
Not really. So would you, Jacob, would you classify yourself more as a gamer or businessman? Businessman.
I'm in gaming for the business side. I think games are the best product that is out there. I've been in a lot of startups before. But just like any other startup, a game is still a product that you need to create, market, and sell and optimize.
So could you go further? What do you mean is the best product out there?
There is no other product that I can see or find out here that gets out to as many millions of users as game does. Plus, you have no distribution problems because everybody is on either Android or iOS, and you have a card on file that people can actually spend right away. So basically, you have to ship them nothing else than pixels. They already have a credit card ready, and you can reach millions of users. That's very difficult to find in any other industry.
So for you, it's not so much about giving the gamers a fun, good time for their money. It's about leeching them dry.
It is, of course, to get them to have a fun time, because when they have a fun time, they start to spend money.
So basically, you just want to make money. So that comes to my next question. So what's more important in gaming, the profit or the fun?
I tend to say that it's really important that people enjoy our game, that you have a core loop in the game that is fun. The rest of the 80% you can optimize around it, but a game without fun will never be able to be something you pick up every single day. So that is also the black box of gaming, because you cannot optimize on fun, but you can optimize on everything else.
Do you think this is diminishing the integrity of gaming? I mean, gaming is known as a medium with rich storytelling. As you can tell, I love games, but not his kind. So do you think it's diminishing the integrity of gaming? Do you think it's making it less than the sum of its parts, less than it can and should be?
It's important to also say that mobile games today is not necessarily target the same gamers like you. I monetize a lot better from your mom.
Keep my mom out of this.
And that segment of new players that haven't been playing the console games, haven't been spending a lot of dollars on acquiring disc before and using it. So it's an entire new segment that is growing. That's why you now have a mobile device that can be used for game in the hands of most people around the world.
Why do people pay?
Main goal is to make sure that people feel smart when they play and entertained. There is a competitive side to everyone that wants them to get ahead, that wants them to have a little bit help to be able to also feel the smartness and the luck within the games. So it's either to become ahead of their friends or to get past something so they can continue having that fun.
So what you're saying is you want to make people feel smart
100%.
by them being dumb.
Not necessarily, that's how you define them.
Oh.
I think my players are smart. I play a lot of the games myself.
So let's look at the market leaders, people like King, Supercell, Rovio. What do you think is the secret sauce behind their success? And for yours, I mean, you are one of the largest in this part of the world. So if I ask you to crystallize, because all of these are freemium games, all of these games, like you said, value profitability very highly. So what's the secret, man? Tell me.
The secret is that, of course, in gaming, you need to kill a lot of projects. You need to figure out like what is actually the fun element that you can build your game around. The rest is about making sure that people have the same experience throughout the game. So what Supercell is really good at is that they have millions of people coming through. It feels like it's a custom experience, but actually the experience is fully designed. So they can squeeze you at the right points, and they can make sure that you continue having back. They also make sure to kick you out of the game when you had been playing for enough hours throughout that day. So you are leaving the game on a fun point, meaning that you'll be more likely to pick it up again the day after or a few hours later.
So it's basically about getting the player as annoyed as possible, then forcing him to leave before he uninstalls your game.
You need to not get them annoyed, because if they're annoyed when they leave, they will not come back to your game.
Right.
So it is important to stop the sessions once they're actually having fun. They can, of course, always pay to continue on, but you will have 95% of the players that will just continue without paying, and that's fine, because they invite everybody else in to make the game more fun for everyone.
Right. So in this part of the world, what are the kind of games that are being very popular?
In this part, so if you look for Southeast Asia, basically nobody had really been focusing on Southeast Asian games. So if you look at the top download charts, they're all Western games. The market has been neglected for so long that you cannot point at a game and say, that's a very Thai game, that's a very Indonesian game. Because the games right now are Western games. The most monetizing games, though, are translated games from Japan and from China that are coming into Southeast Asia, because they do the daily events, they have the RPG element where you can actually monetize on.
Okay, going further into that, what are the kind of monetization patterns that you are seeing as being very prevalent in this part of the world?
So where I see a big difference between, if you take the Western part and the Asian part in gaming, is that in Asia you do a lot more events-based. So you have weekly dungeons, you have Thursday tournaments, you have a community that you build up around the game. In Western games, it's more you get into the game and then you let the game decide the flow. You do less of these like impulse tournaments, competitions, leagues, and that part. That's very popular in the live operations. It's very popular and important in Asian games for that.
Do you see free-to-play market ever taking over from the premium market?
It already did.
Oh. Okay, so coming to my next question, again, say I'm a game developer and I want to make a game. Right now, in terms of iOS, Android, are we seeing a disparity towards Android, or is it still pretty much 50-50?
If you look Southeast Asia, so you have 4 times more downloads on Android than iOS, but you still generate 30% more revenue on iOS than Android. That's a big part because of the credit card penetration that on iOS you need to have your card in. So it's a lot easier for those users to pay. But you can still get a lot of downloads from Android, and it's a very important platform for Southeast Asia. If you make a game in Europe, you could at certain times leave Android out of the way till later. For Southeast Asia, it's necessary.
Okay, so what do Southeast Asian gamers value from the games? What do they want?
Entertainment like everybody else. Basically, if you take mobile gaming, that's an added segment of being able to play on the BTS or on the MRT during the commutes, because you do have longer commutes here as well, and that's why you can generate that time into become fun and useful to some parts.
But more specifically, I mean, do we like puzzle games? Do we like shooters? Do we like RPGs? What do we like?
And if you take the highest paying segment in Southeast Asia, that's definitely the RPG, the guy games with dragons and more hardcore graphic, because you are changing the MMO online players into become mobile now. That's still the crowd that is used to be spending money on games, and it will be like that for the next year or so at least.
So the mobile platform gives us a unique form factor, something that has never really existed before touch devices. But now we're seeing a lot of reverse ports, which is to say console and PC games made for keyboard, mice, and controller being changed for the touch screen. Do you think this is a good idea, or are people just wasting their time?
So you've always been seeing from the TV world the mobile device as a secondary screen, but that's changing now, that actually becomes your primary screen and your television becomes your secondary screen, because you can generate a lot better experience once you have something you can touch for it. If you take touchpads and on controllers for different platforms, Xbox, PlayStation, I think it's bad because you want to have something you feel, because you actually have a television up there. But on mobile, it just generates a better feel for the user, that you have something you can touch and interact with, and then it opens up a lot of opportunities of what you can do.
Awesome. So what trends do you see in Southeast Asia with gaming next couple of years?
I see a lot of studios starting up bringing in Japanese and Chinese games to Southeast Asia, because right now the fastest way into gaming is to translate games and to try to generate a community around Southeast Asia. So that's definitely points coming up. Interesting points coming up from Google and these guys are more carrier billing, more payment platforms. You're further ahead in payment than all the e-commerce sites in games, and now you're actually getting even further ahead by introducing the carrier billing, making sure that everybody actually are able to pay for content as well.
Amazing. So my last question is, what's next for you and Pocket Play? What are we going to see next?
So we've been growing a lot. Last year we took it from 20 to 100 people. This year we are growing even further, and we are changing a lot of our focus from making money on the Western markets to Southeast Asia. So right now we are heavily investing into Southeast Asia to be able to own the market once it's profitable, not enough in a few years. So we are reaching for the sky, and hopefully we'll maintain our role as the biggest player in Southeast Asia.
All right, I'd like to thank Jakob for his time. Good evening, people.
Thank you, Ryan.